training is going to be, let's make it interactive. It's not going to be a really long training. This won't go an hour unless you guys have a million questions. A lot of times I say, hold your questions because I want to get through. I don't want to keep you here longer. But today it's a shorter training. If you have a question, just stick your hand up right in the middle of me talking, and I'll get to you and we'll answer it. I've even got a couple questions for you guys I want you to answer. Okay, so let's kind of leave that open. Like I said, very casual meeting. Now, the one thing I always like, and I never usually start with this, but I really like to know, kind of the credentials of who's teaching a class, okay? And usually, I just come up here and teach, and most people do that, but if I'm going to really hear somebody, a lot of you guys don't know me very well, and some of you don't know me, completely well. So let me kind of give you what I think are my credentials to be able to talk on, starting a business, running a business, and operating a business like a business, okay? So first of all, Angie and I had 35 years of successful sales. We sold over 2,500 homes during that time, and we received over 500 local and international sales awards. So we've done it from the sales part, okay? I incorporated Wright Brothers Investments in business today, Regency Escrow, Aviara Real Estate. I've put all those companies together. They're over 150 years of combined years and over 140 of profitable years, okay? So, and then in addition to that, Angie and I founded Marriage by God, which is a nonprofit organization many years ago, and it's still in business today as well, representing hundreds of couples. Our materials are actually out there in 4 different continents and 4 different languages. So we've done some of this stuff. We put businesses together, we've scaled them in small, we've scaled them big. So I have a little bit of background in doing this. We built the right team of 30 agents. I've published 5 books, 4 are still in print. And here's the most important thing of all. I've made so many mistakes that I can share with you and you can learn from, okay? Because that's the most important thing you have from somebody who's done this before, is not how smart they are, because listen, a lot of it had to do with luck and a lot of other people, okay, that had to help along the way. But you learn a lot, and so that's what I want to share with you more than anything else. We're going to start off with a little bit kind of more of a basic, maybe even talking more to newer agents or people kind of new in business. And then we're going to get more into more very specific and more, kind of complicated, higher level business kind of practices. So the first guy I want to talk about is a guy named Zig Ziglar, okay? He's been dead for some time now, but I started my career in 1979, and Zig was probably the trainer that I listened to the most. He was probably my best mentor from a point of view. I didn't know him. He didn't know me, I should say. But I listened to all his tapes. I heard him speak several times. And I love Buffini today. But Buffini was not even my contemporary. He was after me, really. So even though I love Buffini and I love Tom Ferry and Tony Robbins, all those guys are super dynamic and great, and I think they have great stuff, they were not the ones who trained me when I knew nothing, okay? By the time I was talking to them or listening to them, I actually knew a little something, not a lot, but a little something. So that's why he's my most influential trainer. He speaks more on concept. That's what he speaks on, rather than just the basic, or all the details. So I want to kind of share those with you, what his 6 concepts are to being successful in business. And under each one of these headings, there's kind of a whole lot of words to it, but I'm going to give you kind of the Reader's Digest version because you don't want the whole book report on this. So number 1, you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. This is something I see all the time in business with new agents. What happens is they spend all this time, and what they want to do is they want to spend weeks, if not months, putting together their business card and their marketing materials and all this stuff before they get out there and start doing it. I can tell you that that's my first sign of potential non-success, is when they spend too much time in the starting blocks. Now, conversely, we have agents like Ruthie. She didn't have her business card. She's knocking on doors and said, "Wait a minute, stop, Ruthie, you've got to stop. Okay, you can't do this yet." Okay, but did I think she was going to be successful? Yes, because we couldn't hold her back. I said, "You need a couple things before you start." "No, I don't." Okay, and guess who was right? She was right. I wasn't. So this idea that you have to lay all this groundwork, and some of the agents that have joined our team that were not successful, amazing, great people, successful in other careers, but not in real estate. They fell into that 80% of people that fail, right? They go into real estate. So they didn't fall in that 20% that have, like, are the people mostly here in this room today. So they didn't fall into that, and the reason is they never really got started. And I would hear oftentimes to where, well, once I get this done, that's going to happen. Once I get this done, that's going to happen. I have one story to tell you, a success story, when somebody told you that was successful. Michaela joined our team. She wasn't getting married for about 4 months, and she told me that I'm going to start doing some stuff right now, but I'm really going to kind of unleash the program as soon as I get married. Okay, Michaela, sounds great. You're wasting 4 months. No, I just want to get married. Guess what? Like the day after she comes back from the honeymoon, she's like full speed ahead, and you couldn't stop her. That's the one time in all the agents that I've either been able to look at or train that was a good time. She really did it. I don't think Michaela's here today. She's with one of her 2 babies. So again, get out there and get going. I just talked to Michael today, a new agent that's joining our team, and I can see that he kind of wants to get out there and get going already. I like that. I like that a lot. So you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. It's better to aim high and kind of miss your target than aim low and hit your target. So, if you don't have a very specific plan and goals. Now, what's the most important part of goals? What do you guys think? The most important part? I think I heard who said it.
Making them.
Writing them down, really important. Making them really important. Action steps. So I don't care if somebody has a goal of what they want to sell every year. That's okay. But here's the most important thing. The action steps to what they're going to do every day, every week, and every month. So the most important part of goals are your action steps. By the way, for those of you that are writing notes, that's great to write notes, but we're going to have this on 805 Academy in about 2 weeks. It'll be edited, and all the things I said that, when I slurred my words will be taken out. It'll actually be a much better presentation if you watch it then. So it'll go back there if you want to watch this again. By the way, the panel that we did, which I think will be maybe the best single training we had all year, is already on 805 Academy. If you want to go in there, it's worth watching again. It was that good. If you saw it, if you didn't see it, you've got to watch that. It's really powerful. So there you go. You got to have these very specific action steps. Simply put, failing to plan is planning to fail. Okay, need your plan. So number 3. You can have everything in life you want, you can have everything you want in life if you just help other people get what they want. So here's his whole idea. This is so true. He always focused on the client's wants and needs, not his. Always. Now, when I was first in real estate, it was important that I already had a home that I bought from the little savings I had, a condo. And so sales were important. I didn't have anything to fall back on. So I needed sales and stuff like that. But you got to stay away from this idea that you need a sale. You must focus on the client's needs at all time. By the way, this is a really powerful survey that was done probably about 10 years ago. It was done by Terry Eilers. And why I like this survey, it was a survey among all industries and all spaces of sales. He interviewed over 1,000 people personally. Imagine how long that would take. If you did 3 a day every day, it takes you a year. So he interviewed all these people. And he wanted to find out what they had in common. And he found out that although they had a lot of basic things in common, like generally people that get up early, okay, generally larks are more successful than owls. But just generally, not specifically. There's a lot of people that sleep in until noon and work until midnight, they're still successful. So if you're an owl, your chance of being successful might be slightly less, but you can still be successful. You don't have to be a lark, okay? But he found 3 things that were very important, and these were the 3 things that he said that was the very, very most important thing. So, and these are basically what, I'm actually confusing 2 different things here. This was what clients wanted, not what salespeople did. I'll hit the other one later. Number 1, what do you think they were? 3 things clients want from their agents.
Communication.
Communication, number 1. But it wasn't just number 1, because all 3 of these were equal. So number 1 doesn't put it above 2 or 3. Okay. Number 2, what do you think another one is?
Next steps.
Next steps?
Like
net sheets?
what-
Okay.
Yeah.
So, net sheets. That was number 3 in the list, but they were all equal, they were all important. Our clients want to know how much it costs. How many times do we put together a whole offer and we don't show our seller how much their net proceeds are going to be. I mean, I remember doing that at times. I just put the sale together. They want net sheets. So they want communication. Not only do they want communication, they want communication in their prescribed manner. So if you're working with younger clients, you probably don't call them as much or email them as much, you text them more, okay? However, don't always just think that's the way they want it, you need to ask them. So they want constant communication in the mode they want it in. And here's the last one. Here's the one that is really important. That if you don't do this, you'll all need to change. And this one is, they want options. They want options.
Yes.
Let me show you how that works, okay? So Pat is my client, okay? God forbid, but let's say Pat's my client, and we go out and we're looking at sale. I just said that because of the friend. So we go out and we're looking at properties, and we're gonna put an offer on this property. And let's say in today's market, let's say the normal market's listed at $1 million. So I would go to Pat and say, I'm not gonna say, what do you wanna offer on this? Because I'm his agent. I want him to, first of all, get this home. First question I ask him is at what price would you feel bad if you didn't get this home? And at what price would you be willing to let it go? Or maybe I'd ask him on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you about this property? Because I want to know his level of excitement. Because based on his level of excitement, we need to write an offer that is kind of commensurate to that level of excitement. So he says, I want this property, it's a 10. So I'm going to say, well, we have 3 options, okay? One option is to go in very low. The benefit to that is that we will not overpay, okay? It really protects us against that. However, most likely we're not going to get the property, okay? The next thing we could do is we could go in $100,000 over ask price, and we're going to get that property. Remember, I'm talking a normal market now, okay? However, you know, you're going to probably overpay for the property if you do that. But if you went in, and let's say we went in close to ask price or right at ask price, then we'd have a good chance of getting the property. We wouldn't leave money on the table, and so we would meet all our objectives. Now, those are our options. So, Pat, what do you think is the best one? Which way would you like to go? So, what they want is, they don't want to hear what your opinion is until they hear all the options. So, you need to give them all of their options, okay, and then you give your opinion. If somebody asks me if they want should we put a lockbox on the property, I don't just go to, you'd be a fool not to, because that might offend them. Let's say, for instance, I ask about open houses, and they say, I don't just say, you have to have open houses. I don't say that. I ask them, do you like open houses? And if they say, well, we bought our home on an open house. So then I give them the options that way, about having or not having them. Let's say for the lockbox, for instance, and I'm working with Ruth, and Ruth says, you know, I ask her, you know, she asked me, do I need a lockbox? I'm saying, well, all right, would you be okay to put a lockbox on? She goes, no, I really don't want one. I'd say, well, let me give you your options then. You don't have to have a lockbox, okay? And that would then, you know, certainly make it easier for you. However, it makes it tougher for the buyers, and so you might leave buyers behind if you do. So, is it worth it for you to lose a lot of buyers and percentage and potentially a higher sales price? Or would you be willing to take a lower price without a lockbox? Okay. Then when you give her those options, then you talk her right back into the lockbox. So now that's just, again, but you can't go right to and just tell them how it's going to be. That's not what they want. They want your opinion, but they don't want your opinions until they have all the options, okay? When you go to a doctor, and I had a little bout with prostate cancer a few years ago, and the doctor told me, he goes, you can do nothing. You know, it's a really slow growing cancer. You could probably, you know, still live a fairly long life. Or you can have radiation if you want. That's another possibility. Or you can have a prostatectomy, which is to take the prostate out. And he gave me all the options. And I looked at him, I said, well, you know, which is the best? He goes, it depends on how you look at it. I said, what would you do? And he goes, I would do the prostatectomy. And so, but he gave me all these options. I felt so much better when he gave me his recommendation. Had he just said, this is what we're going to do, I wouldn't have liked it. Let's learn from doctors. They are taught on how to give options to clients, okay, and patients. we should take what they do and make sure we use options, okay? So next, number 4, remember that failure is an event and not a person, okay? And boy, I can tell you, you can really take success personally. It's really easy to do, right? No question about it. You represent a buyer, you don't get that property, you feel bad for it. But here's the idea of failure. And that is that failure does not define you, okay? It should just educate you. You learn from that, okay? When Angie and I used to go to a listing presentation, every time we came out of it, we would always think about what we could do better, whether we got the listing or not, okay? You certainly need to know what you can do better if you don't get it. So again, don't look at failure to define you, okay? Failure is an event and not a person. So here's another thing in real estate that's really good. And this is one of the saving graces that really helps with failure. If you play Major League Baseball, okay, and Jimmy and Jake, they've got kids that play baseball at high levels. When let's say they play a whole season in the major leagues, okay, they might get 600 at-bats. Their success is based upon the percentage of hits they get. If they get a hit 3 out of 10 times, they bat 300, and that's good. Which means that the good thing is they can fail 7 out of 10 times, still be successful, which is good. But real estate isn't like that. You can be 100% successful in real estate and not be successful. And let me give you an idea. Oh, is it off?
Oh, it came back.
There you go. Bingo. So you can be 100%, if you only meet with 2 clients a year and you're successful on 1 listing and you have 1 buyer and you're successful 100% of the time, I would not consider that success. So all you have to do in real estate to be successful is to put yourself in the game more often. Don't be afraid to lose, just get in the game more. If you're not doing well at open houses, first of all, watch the videos that we have from Bo and Angie on open houses. Watch others how they are successful at it and get back in the game. It's not a percentage. A lot of times the people that sell the most in real estate aren't even the ones that are the most successful as far as percentage. They just win more times. They might even lose more times. So put yourself in the game. That's the great thing about real estate, by the way. The other thing I like about real estate that goes along with that is we all have the same product. There's no excuse why we're not successful. Because if I sell iPhones, okay, and somebody else is selling, Nokias, then I've got a huge advantage on that person probably, okay? However, in real estate, there is no advantage. Your company doesn't give you that much of an advantage. Maybe it does if it's a top company, a good name, but for the most part, I can tell you that our company sells more real estate than any individual office every year, right? But nobody ever calls here and says, listen, I know you're the best company, you sell the most. Do you have an agent that will come out and list my house? They don't do that. They all call all of you, okay? So the company is not what is going to make you successful. It's you. They call you, not the company. And there's no company like that in real estate, that people call the company just because of that. They call agents. So again, that's why this failure thing is really easy to look at. Next thing I want to talk about, and this is number 5. You can change who you are and what you are by changing what goes into your mind. We have a whole video on the emotional part of real estate that's really important. You guys should grab onto that and watch that. It's something that no one talks about. But I didn't even talk on this until I had team members and I realized all the emotions they went through were just like the ones I used to. I really found out that I wasn't the only one who had emotional battles early in real estate. And so that's why I put a video together on it. This is an emotional business, no question about it. So again, what you put in your mind is really important. I would bet if I ask everybody here what is one of the most important things you can do as a parent, a lot of you might pick, I want to control what my kids watch, who their friends are, the books they read, and what they watch on their social devices, or on their devices, right? Is that important? Mm-hmm. Let me tell you, I believe that's important. But want me to tell you what's 10 times more important? Is to teach your child how to have positive self-talk. That's more important than everything else. It's not nearly as important what everybody else puts in their mind as it is what they put in their mind. Everything that comes to us has to come through us. And that means that we have the ability to digest it the way we want. And if we have positive self-talk, then it's the most important thing you can teach your kids. I probably taught it to our kids, we probably taught it too much. They're way too arrogant. Believe me, they have positive self-talk. And for those of you who know those, they probably are, right? So, positive self-talk, the most important thing you can teach your kids. Tell you a story. I was at baseball at Dodger Fantasy Camp years ago in 1987, just a year before they won the World Series. And we were talking to Tom Lasorda. He was talking one night. They had, players talk every night at our dinners. And so he was talking about how he would go out there, and when he was coaching or managing in the minor leagues, he would go out there and he'd talk to a pitcher, and he'd go out there and he'd say, by the way, I just want to tell you, Bill, do not throw this guy an inside fastball. He's going to hit it 400 feet. And so I would do that. I'd go sit back in the dugout, and the next pitch was inside fastball. He hit it 420 feet out of the park. And I kept doing that. I kept learning that when I went out there and said, don't do this, what I was really telling him is, be careful, be careful. And guess what they did? They did that. So he learned how to implant self-positive talk. So he'd go out there and he'd say, let's work this guy high and out, high and out. Let's work him high and out, and maybe touch on curveballs that change the speeds. But he never said, whatever you do, don't do this, because that's negative self-talk. Positive self-talk is the most important things we can do. And that's how we change our world around us. By the way, what do you think the number one key to happiness is? Anyone have an idea what they think the number one key to happiness is?
Being married to you.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
How much did he pay you
That's
for
a
that?
plan. That's a plan. No. So, actually, that's a joke. So let me tell you, there's some great books. One is called Happiness Advantage by Sean Akers. Great book to read. So here's what's not number one. Your family and your relationship with your family. Is that important? Oh yeah, that's really important, right? Now, that's really important, but it's not number one. How about your friends? No. How about your financial status? No. Number one key to happiness is setting low expectations of others. And I'll tell you why. You can change your life by setting low expectations of others. And I'll tell you how you do that. When you go into McDonald's, if your expectations is that everything's going to be done perfect, you're probably going to be disappointed. They're paid $15 an hour only because inflation took it to that recently. So they're not making a lot of money. I feel for them. But you're not going to get people that are going to perform at a high level. Lower your expectations. Of all your friends, your family, and everything else, lower your expectations, because guess what? They will then meet those expectations or exceed them, and you're going to be happy. But if you have high expectations of others, you're going to be an unhappy person for the rest of your life. You will go through life every day being unhappy with everything around you, and most of all, everybody around you. Lower your expectations of others, okay? So, okay, I'm getting a little preachy here. Number 6, there are no traffic jams along the extra mile. And this is simple. Do what others do, and you will get what others got. You've heard the saying before, continue to do what you've done, you'll continue to get what you've got, right? And so, again, when we looked at the top agent panel last month, I took notes on that, and when I went to our team, I extracted a couple things, and I said, they said a lot of great things. But you know what I took from that? There was two things that stood out among those people. This is my point of view. You may not agree with this. One was, they were all really good at their business. They knew real estate. Now, I'm not saying they're the smartest people on the earth. I don't know about other areas. They know their business. And the other thing was, they created special experiences for their clients. Special experiences for their clients. That's what they did. And that's why their business was successful, okay? So by people coming here, it means you want to get more knowledge. You need to learn everything you can about this business. Everything you can. And then when you do, that's going to help you. Not only help you in the transactions you have, but why do people refer? They refer for 2 reasons. They refer for one reason, but 2 things lead to it. They refer because if you're good, that's a reflection on them to give a referral. I refer people and places of things that reflect well on me. If I tell you about a good restaurant, and I tell Dave I love this restaurant, it's not because I want them to go there to help that restaurant, it's because it's a reflection on me, and if you go there, you'll think I have good taste in food, right? If I'm right, okay? Everybody knows my favorite restaurant here that knows me. What is it?
Ruby.
No, Captain Jack's, right? Everyone knows. Ruby is the one I go to the most. Used to with kids. But, so Captain Jack's, people know that. Why? Because I've said that, okay? I think it's a reflection on me. When people go there, they usually like it. It's also very old and needs to be redone and things like that. Probably kind of like me. So, anyway, the whole idea of this is that that's the reason people refer. Because you're knowledgeable and you create a special experience for them. So that's what you need to work for. Okay, next thing is, I want to get specific now. We've kind of hit, kind of on some basics and things like that. So now we're going to get more into specific things, and let me give you some more details to some things. First of all, there's 3 things I tell every new agent that joins our team. And what's really funny about this is that anyone in this room that's been on my team would know what this is. I first of all tell them that this business is going to be harder than you think. Okay? Is that true or not, people?
Yes.
Pat, Dave, you guys have been in here for a long time. Is that true? Is it harder than you think? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. It's going to probably take longer than you think to be successful. Is that true or not? We all thought we're going to be on the top of the podium at the end of the first year, right? Didn't happen, right? But number 3, for the people that are successful, it's better than you ever imagined. So those 3 things is the ultimate truth of real estate. If you do what you're supposed to do, it's going to be harder than you think, it's going to take longer than you think, it's going to be better than you ever imagined. Listen, I'll take 1 and 2 if I finally get 3. Because nobody thought it was going to be easy, right? Really? You really think it's going to be easy? That's why I can tell you there's a lot of people that think this business is easy. And they bounce from industry to industry. This is what is known as one of the romantic professions. Okay? There's a few of them. And what I mean by that is that people that want to be designers of homes, that's a romantic profession. Okay? It's really cool. That sounds great. Real estate, I'm going to go out there and you see the shows, drive the big cars and sell the big houses and make all these big commissions. It really is kind of a romantic profession. It looks like it's really easy. We all know it's different than driving people around in your Rolls Royce and look at 2 houses and you make $100,000, right? It's not that easy. It's not, in fact, that's not a good view of our business. It's anything but that. It is a blue collar job that we usually perform with a shirt and tie on if you're a guy, okay? Maybe not as much now, but 20 years ago, you would not think of going out without a suit on. Dave Pingree was one of the best dressed guys I've ever met. And when he was doing a lot of sales, you were always in a suit. Did you ever show up to the office without a suit?
Did I what?
Ever show up to the office without a suit on?
Not usually.
Yeah.
It was a time,
hand
but
tailored.
I am now.
Handmade.
Yeah, I mean, that's, it's changed a little bit, but not that much. I mean, did you kind of notice? If you look at Bo and Jordan, you see those guys around, guess what? They're dressed really nice. They're dressed, just in their everyday thing. Every time I met them, they're dressed really nice. Bo's still in a suit and tie. It works. I'm not saying you can't be successful without that, because there is no person who's successful that hits it on every point. However, why not hit it on every point that you can? It just makes more sense. It gives you a better chance. So those are the 3 things. The next thing I want to talk about is 4 reasons real estate agents fail. NAR did a study a few years ago. This was published actually by NAR and then later by Inman. I think it's really a good study. And the reason I like it is because I agree with it. There's been other studies too, but I agree on this one. And having now, for the last 10 years, to be able to look at individually why people on my team succeed and why they don't, I think this is right on. They gave you 4 reasons. First of all, and I'll talk about them individually, they don't capitalize enough. Number 2, they focus on marketing, not lead generation. There is no mentor there, and they have no idea of how to run a business, which is what we're talking about today. Number 1 is not enough money. When you start a business, you have to invest in that. Let's say, for instance, that Pam and I are going to start a restaurant, okay? And we're going to go and we want to be successful, but we don't have a lot of money. So we're not going to, it's a hot day. We can't turn the air on really low because we really don't have that much money yet. And we have paper menus rather than nice menus. And we only have 1 cook because we can't afford 2. And when people come in our restaurant, we can't tell them, by the way, okay, we know things aren't good right now, but hang in there. As soon as we start becoming successful, we're going to get air conditioning, we're going to get another cook, we're going to have really nice menu. It's not the way it works, guys. You need to go out as if you were making money already, and that's hard to do. Because not only do you have to invest money, okay, you're not making money for a while. So that's one of the reasons it's hard. It's also one of the reasons I think, for instance, if you have a spouse and the spouse is doing well and you don't immediately have to do well, there's an advantage and a disadvantage. One advantage is the advantage is you don't have to do well. There's a little bit of time that you can transition in, and you're not gonna kind of sell being scared, which is a big advantage. The disadvantage is you don't have to sell because you've got another provider, right? So that's the disadvantage. Okay, Ruth, I can share this, I think. If I'm not, then tell me later I shouldn't have shared it. But she's a single mother. She came in the business, had some savings, so I have enough to get me through for a while. But I need to start selling homes. And in her third year, she sells almost 40 homes, 35 homes last year, right? So she knew that she had to get going. She couldn't have gone 3 years and sold 6 homes in 3 years, could you? That wouldn't have been very good, right? No. So that was good for her. Now, again, that may not be your motivation, it may be, but it's a good motivation for some people, but it's also sometimes too tough a motivation because they can't do it. They just can't invest in it. They can't make it. So number 2 is they focus on marketing and not lead generation. The key to this business is not how great you market yourself. And I can tell you, one of the things I think is way overbaked in this business, way overbaked, is all about, image advertising and branding. This name branding. Let me tell you what your brand is. Your brand is your name, okay? Angie and I, when we were in business, it was Ed and Angie Wright with the byline, let the right team work for you. Now, looking back, we did all that years. We were successful in spite of that. But what I would have been today, I would have been just Ed and Angie. And I wouldn't have had any byline. Nothing. Just Ed and Angie, Regency Real Estate. And then our last name would be Small. I want them to know it's Ed and Angie, Ed and Angie, Ed and Angie. That is your brand. A lot of people come on and we've got our company colors. They want their own colors. They want their own logo. They want their own slogan. So we've got Regency slogan, we got your slogan, we got all these things. That just doesn't really matter. There's only 5 companies that have identifiable logos and branding of the top 500 companies. Identifiable meaning that 90% plus of them have them. You know who they are? Google, right? Apple, Target. What's the other one? There is Nike, number 1, by the way. No, not Walmart. No, not 90%. I can't tell you what Walmart is. Can't tell you there. So it's Nike, Google, Amazon, Apple, and Target. So only those 5 out of 500 have identifiable brands. All the other 4, that's out of the top 500 companies in the world. So you think you're going to accomplish it with the amount of business you do and the brand you have? It's going to make any difference? Forget branding. Don't spend a lot of time on it. Get a white card that has your thing. And why do we put pictures on our cards? Studies tell us, I will tell you that studies tell us that somewhere between 15 and 20% of people that put pictures on their card have a picture that will appear to be friendly or professional to somebody. That means that 85% of us do not. Which one are you? You can try to figure it out, or you can just put your name on your card without your picture. Okay? I know what side I'm on. Fortunately, I had a wife that might have brought me up a little bit. But the whole idea is that, your picture in most cases, you ever see your doctor with a picture on their card? Ever see your lawyer? Do they have it right or do we have it right? I don't know. I'll let you guys answer that.
They don't want people reaching out to them, that's why.
Well, no, they do. They still do. But I'm just saying, I'm not against pictures, but I'm telling you what they say. What they're saying is, the market studies, that 85% of pitchers do not embrace you to want to work with them. 85 push you away, and 15% might embrace you a little more. That's just what they say. I didn't do that study, okay? I'm just passing it on, okay? So, lead generation. The other one is no mentor. Mentors are really important. It's one of the great things I think about Regency that we have. First of all, we have, 805 Academy, we have training here, we have all kinds of people willing to share. We're like 33 offices working together and kind of like a co-op. And when one team does better, so does the other one, because all the partners can advance by doing that, not only financially, but as far as knowledge-wise. So it's a great idea. And you have a lot of mentoring. Each team has a mentor on it, sometimes more than one, okay? So I looked up in the Google, how I Google a lot of things, and I tried to find out what your success ratio would be if you tried to climb Mount Everest, okay? What do you think it is, trying to climb Mount? What's the success ratio of trying to climb? Now remember, most people that try to climb Mount Everest don't say, yeah, I haven't really walked in a while, let's try Mount Everest. I mean, these are people that walk a lot, right? What do you think the success ratio is?
70%.
70%. Okay, well, let me tell you.
50 or
For
40.
people that go with Sherpas, it's less than 5%. Without Sherpas, without a mentor. People that go with a Sherpa, 80%. Real estate's the same way, guys. If you don't have a Sherpa, it's tougher. Can you make it? Yes, maybe. But you need a mentor. Find one. Now, by the way, the mentor can be your team leader. Maybe you get together in a group and you help mentor each other. But I got to tell you, we had a mentor in growing up in life, you know, for our personal life, which was Harold and Darlene Sala. And we went to them when we had questions about kids and things like that. They were so helpful. They gave us ideas and points of views that we were way too immature to have. And so it's just like in real estate. When we're new, we're immature, and we never know it all. I know that Pat's trying to learn to this day. That's why he's here. I mean, this guy has forgotten more than most of you know, okay? So, but he's still here trying to learn. True, Pat, right?
Absolutely.
So, again, the whole idea is that a mentor is so important. The next one was, which ties into this, they had no idea how to run a business. So, here's the way you kind of answer questions when you know how to run a business. You get up that day, you really don't want to go, and you go, you know what, I work for myself, I don't have to show up. No, that's the wrong thing. It's because I do work for myself, I not only have to be first there and last there. Everyone knows that when I have a team meeting, and we have a team meeting once a month, I'm there an hour before the team meeting starts. I'm the first one there, not the last one there. There is no one that ever beats me to the meeting, because that's how I run that business. If I'm going to be there, I'm going to be on time, and I'm going to be usually early, and that's the way you run businesses. Angie and I made reservations probably about 3 months ago. We wanted to go to Mastro's. One night we thought, let's go to Mastro's. So we tried to get reservations, and sure enough, we got a 5 o'clock reservation. They open at 5 o'clock. So we went down to Mastro's, going to have a nice dinner, just her and I, and we got there about 15 minutes to 5, knowing that we're the 5 o'clock, we'd get there early. I'm always early, right? So we get there early, and guess what time Mastro's opens their doors? 5:10.
5:10.
Are you kidding me? I'll never go back to Mastro's again. Never. There was 15 people waiting. We were about the 3rd or 4th people waiting, and it was hot out there. And they didn't open their doors till 5:10.
Wow.
Are you kidding me? They should have opened it 10 minutes to 5, not 5:10. They should have opened it early. That's terrible. If you're ever late for an appointment, I know there's somebody in this room right now. I'm not going to say who they are, but they can tell you the story if they ever want to tell it. They showed up 2 minutes late to an appointment one time, and the people were driving out of the driveway and said, "I'm sorry, you're late. We don't need you. We don't need to meet with you." Okay?
Wow.
That person's in this room right now, and that person has a lot of business. 2 minutes late. Okay? I'm not going to make that person speak up. So it wasn't me, by the way. I usually get, "What are you doing here so early?" So anyway, I have friends that invite us over to dinner. They'll invite everybody else over at 6 and us over at 6:30 because they know we'll all be there at the same time. So, one of the things I worked on for a long, long time was trying to look at other people in the business and try to find out what we did that made us successful, what we did that kept us from being more successful, and other people the same thing. And I can tell you it took me a long time, but I think I'm onto it. Okay, it might not be, but I think I'm onto it. Okay, that the path to success to real estate, I'm pretty sure that I've hit on it. Okay, and there's 4 areas. Okay, and I call it SAMM, S-A-M-M. And I've talked about this before to our team, so this is not new. But SAMM is really important. Number 1 is broken into 2 areas. When we talk about skills, you need personal skills, okay, which is very important, and you need professional skills. So personal skills means that you have to be good with people. Now, there are some people that are naturally good with people. We have a lot of people on our team that they really are amazing people person. They've already got that comes natural, okay? Then the next thing is, and that has to do with professional skill. That means knowledge, that's what that is. No one has that, but everybody can get it. Now, for me, I thought, as assessing myself, I had average personal skills. And so if I wanted to be successful, I had to have exceptional knowledgeable skills or personal skills, and so professional skills. So That's why I went after that side. I was in business with my wife who had good knowledge and she had great people skills, and that really helped us as a team. But you need those. Without that, it's not going to work, and you need them both. Okay. One, unfortunately, you can only develop so high. If you don't have personal skills, you can certainly get better. And some people, you already start pretty high in the bar. Okay. And then the last one is professional. Everybody, that's open to everybody to be super knowledgeable about this business. The next one is attitude. And a lot of people might not think, I mean, attitude is so important in everything. I mean, we do premarital counseling, we do marriage mentoring, and I can tell you, attitude is everything. When a couple comes to us and they're having problems, when we ask them simple questions, how much effort are you willing to put into this program? If their attitude is bad, we just say, this isn't for you, because it's all attitude based. And attitude in real estate is the same thing. One of the things that we have people on our team do, I did when I was in business, I made a statement of attitude. That statement of attitude would be something that I memorized, and if anyone wants it, I could share it. I've shared it before, and it basically prepared me every morning. I prepared in 2 ways. I prepared in prayer. I'm a person of faith. I prepared by stating my statement of faith. You have to put on the armor and be prepared to go out there. Your attitude has to be right. And anytime I found myself in a little bit of a slump, it was almost always trailed back to my attitude wasn't what it should have been. Okay? Your attitude will absolutely determine your altitude in this business, no doubt about it. You have to have a great attitude. The next one is map. We talked about that. A map is just, can you imagine driving from here to New York without a map? Just getting, and that's the same way that you can do real estate. If you don't have a map of how to get there, we sit down and with people on our team, we talk about having a path to success. And that, what is your path going to be success? We know what it can be. There's a lot of different paths, but you have to have one that works. Okay? And we can tell what works and what doesn't work. And your team leader can also tell you that if you're not a team leader. And the last thing is motor. And a motor is important. If you don't have a motor, and to go out there and just, that's just your commitment to it. That's just drive. If you don't have that, there's nothing, and that's, I don't know, sometimes you can't give that. You either have it or you don't. And believe me, a motor without a map is really bad, but a map without a motor is really bad. You need both, a map and a motor. You need the skills, and you also need the attitude. And when you put those together, that becomes an ingredient for and a formula for success. So, talk about some of the things. Any questions so far on anything? I mean, certainly, like I said, it's going to be interactive, and you guys haven't had too many questions. So one of the things I want to talk about is, we're talking about business, should you incorporate? A lot of people ask that question, should I or should I not incorporate? Well, I'm going to give you some basics here. It's really the ultimate question to have with your accountant, and your accountant can give you better advice on this than I can. That's his job. But I can tell you that I've gone through this. I've incorporated 7 or 8 companies in total, so I know what the benefits are and what the negatives are too. So, but it usually is when you start doing well in real estate and you start making a lot of money, and then you need some more advantages tax-wise and things like that. So here's the kind of advantage you have. First of all, because you're a small company, you're actually 1 employee, but you can even have assistants that might even be employees. As long as you're under 100, as long as you're under 100 shareholders in your company, guess what you get to do? You get to be an S corp. That means that all the money that you make during a year, then what you get to do is you don't have to pay any taxes on what your company makes. Whatever your company pays you, you pay taxes 1 time. Unlike, let's say, you're Apple. Apple makes $1 bajillion, they pay taxes on it. Then they give whatever's left to their shareholders, and their shareholders pay taxes on it. So that's a huge advantage to the small business person, that you have single taxation in a business. That's a huge advantage. There's things you can write off that you can't write off if you're a sole proprietor. You can write off medical insurance and different things. You're also a lot less likely to get audited, because guess what? As a corporation, you might be little. You're not Apple, okay? But as an individual, you would be big. So you go from that big pond of the individual, if you're doing well in real estate, to a small pond in the corporate life. Now, I'm not saying for 1 second that you do not want, that you're afraid to be audited. You don't have to be afraid to be audited. I've been audited 1 time. I didn't like it, okay? And by the way, when the audit was done, the IRS had to write me a check, okay? My prior accountant had missed something, and I got a check back. I wasn't afraid, but who wants to go through the audit? Who wants to spend 40 hours of pulling up documents and things like that? And being scrutinized by somebody whose job is to find money for the government. Nothing wrong with it, we need them. It keeps people, I'm just saying, it's one of the advantages to being a corporation. You're a less chance of being audited. And the other thing is, there's a protection of your assets. As long as you run the corporation by having an annual meeting and keeping minutes and pretty simple rudimentary things, you have a lot more protection of your assets because they'd have to break your corporate shield. So that's another advantage. Now, let me tell you some of the disadvantages of being an S Corp. First of all, you have 2 tax returns every year. So how much does it cost you? Double, right? 2 tax returns. You have a personal, you have a business, double. The other thing you pay with the state of California is you're going to pay an $800 minimum tax every year, no matter if you make any money or not. We got to write a check for $800. Okay, that's just every year. That's known as the minimum tax in California for a corporation. So you have to do that. And then it takes the cost of incorporating, which is generally a couple $1,000. Okay, Don, does that sound about right to incorporate these days? A couple $1,000? You have an accounting background. Close enough? Okay. So a couple $1,000 to incorporate. So it costs you a little money to do that. So, and then all your reporting is, guess what? Just like Apple, you got to make the same reports they do. Quarterly reports, annual reports. There's a lot of things you have to do. A few more things to do. Once you get a hold of it and grasp of it, it's pretty easy, but there's a learning curve. So there is not this automatic that as soon as you make X, then you incorporate, and until then you don't. There's not that automatic, okay? Those are just questions that, again, it goes along with your accountant. So the other thing is you're in business, right? You're in business. You're not one person, running a taxi service to take people to show them homes, okay? You're a business, so you need a team. Now, your team doesn't have to be agents working with or for you, but you should have this team. You need an escrow coordinator, you need your escrow, your lender, your title, your inspector. All of these on here are they are part of your team. Now, what else should they be? Anyone else should know what else they should be? Your referral source.
Yeah.
Right? So imagine if you've got a team of 10 people and you get a referral, just one from every year, you got 10 deals to start the year. Now, I can tell you, I don't know that you can have every single person you work with that will give you business. But if you start doing a good volume, and Angie and I would commonly do over 100 sales a year, every one of our people, you wouldn't be our escrow officer, you wouldn't be my lender, you wouldn't be my termite person, my title person. If you didn't give me business, you wouldn't be my, now, they wouldn't be my selected or on that team unless they did one of two things. First of all, first criteria, they're really good at what they do. And second of all, they refer me business. Now, if they just referred me business, but they weren't very good, they're not on my team. So they need to be referring me business. And by the way, you can start your own little group referral group. Put together accountants, attorneys, things like that. I mean, you don't have, there's some ones that are that can be put together for you, LaTip and things like that are great to join or do your own. But put something together, they're a source of referrals. Next question I get a lot of times is, when do I need an assistant? I'm getting this from people on our team right now that are doing really well. So this is what I usually say. I usually give them these 5 questions. And if you, depending on how you answer these 5 questions, would really depend. First of all, if you never get your to-do list done, then you need help, okay? Right? If you're never getting it done, then you need to get that done. The other one, if you could sell more homes if you had help, okay? If you could sell more homes. The next one would be, there are areas of expertise that you don't have or you don't possess that you want to hire. Now, remember, an assistant doesn't always have to be somebody who works full-time for you and comes in every day. When Angie and I worked, for most of our career, we had 3 full-time assistants and 1 part-time assistant. Okay, they came in the office Monday through Friday, and our one assistant came in Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. But again, you don't have to do that. You can have an assistant that does your social media. That person might do social media for 10 people, but they're an assistant that they're on your team. Okay, they start assisting. One of the things we talk about as you start doing well in the business is you buy your time back. Okay, so for instance, we've got people on our team that have small kids that are doing really well. So guess what? Maybe you need an au pair to help you out. You should have somebody doing your laundry, have somebody doing your house cleaning. Maybe when we were busy, when we were in sales, I had an assistant, all she did was personal stuff for me. She'd pick up our cleaning, get my car washed, and buy Christmas and anniversary gifts for Angie for me. I mean, and other things as well. Now, she did some real estate
do a
things
good job?
too. She'd drop off lockboxes and do everything. We had one assistant, that's what she did. I mean, we had enough, but and guess what? It freed me to go on and do more. Your time is worth more than that. So, and the fifth one is your time is worth much more than a good assistant's salary. So in other words, if your time is worth more than what you pay somebody, and again, you can pay an assistant a lot. Just to kind of give you an idea, if you make $100,000 a year, you make $51 an hour. That's just a math question. $51 an hour. I figured it out. So if you make $200,000, you make $102. For the people that were on these panels, some of these people were making well over $1 million, a couple $1 million a year. So what are they paid per year or per hour? They would be paid probably in the neighborhood of $1,000 to $2,000 per hour. You take how much they make, divide it by 40 hours a week or in 52 weeks, you subtract all of the money they have to pay for overhead of help, and that tells you how much they make per hour. That's when you come to the realization that you need assistance. Now, I never hired an assistant too early. I hired everyone too late. They were always at the worst time possible because I was so busy. You had to bite the bullet every time. I was never smart enough to figure it out ahead of time that, listen, our business is really growing. We're going to need an assistant. We might as well hire one now when I have time to train. I never did that. We were always trying to put out fires by hiring an assistant. We'll just work overtime to get them trained and stuff like that because we need help. So again, if you need that assistant, then I would strongly recommend that you go down that road. Now, I'm not going to get into this a lot, but do you pay them salary or are they going to be private contractor? There's a huge advantage to having them as private contractors, but you also have to fall under some of the accounting rules, okay? You have to give them, if you give them the tools, that helps you. If they don't have set hours, that helps you. If they have other people they work for along with you, they might be a private contractor as opposed to an employee. An employee will cause you some potential. It's going to cost you a little bit more. If you pay yourself a retirement account, it might tie into your retirement account that you have to pay them too. So there's a strategy. Again, that's just like whether or not you want to incorporate. That's a tax question with your accountant, okay, of how you could structure something, whether it would be an employee or a private contractor. Be careful about going down that list and thinking everyone's a private contractor. The rules have changed so much that almost nobody is anymore. It's really hard to keep them as a private contractor. Fortunately, what are we as real estate agents? We're private contractors. I can tell you that's been under attack through the years. Pam can tell you. She's been on CAR, stuff forever. And that comes up every 5 years, right? They're trying to attack our private contractor status. Fortunately, by law we are, but that's been attacked before, and so far we've been able to hold that out. I think we probably will forever. But even us, as much freedom as we have, we're under attack by the government. Why do they want to make us employees? Because they get more guaranteed money, okay? That's the reason why. So, okay, so the other thing is, I gotta tell you, I love to learn and I love to read. I used to have a rule that I had to read a book every month, and then I got to be where that was such a low level, I no longer had that as a goal every year because that would keep me from reading as much as I would read typically. I'm gonna show you some great books on business to read. First of all, Built to Last is a great book. Good to Great is one of the best books ever. It's usually required reading for MBA students, but yet it is a really incredible book to read. The oldest book of all, and this is about just treating people, this is in the 20s, I think, but How to Win Friends and Influence People, Dale Carnegie. Don't read the new updated version that his kids wrote. Read the original. By the way, it might sound like it's written in the 20s because it was, okay? But the concepts that Buffini teaches today and Tom Ferry and some of the top sales trainers are no different than what were taught back then. They're just being passed on from generation to generation and perhaps enhanced a little bit. And then Tipping Point is really good. Tipping Point will kind of give you an idea of how your business can really tip and how your business can kind of go like this and then all of a sudden it just takes off. And it kind of gives you the idea of how to tip. It also gives you the idea, it also gives you kind of the formula of when you know you're pretty close to tipping as well, okay? So I think that's a good one. So the next thing I want to talk about, my favorite business quote of all, and I think one of the #1 things that if I were to say anything about, as far as a quote, this is the one you want. It's called under promise and over deliver. You can set yourself up for success if you quit over promising and under delivering. This is an easy concept to win on if you just restructure your promises. For instance, if somebody calls me and says, I'd like to have a grant deed on my home, okay, and I know that I can get that on my app and send it to them in 5 minutes, I'm not going to say I'll send you in 5 minutes. I'll say, hey, great, let me get that. Would it be okay if I got that to you by tomorrow at noon? Oh, sure, I don't need it. Okay, I'll have it to you by noon tomorrow. Guess when they're probably getting it? 5 minutes. Guess what I just did? I under promised and over delivered. What we do sometimes is we try to make the words out of our mouth sound appealing to our client, which means that, look how quick I can get it. And then we just run like crazy to get it, right? And a lot of times we don't make it. Set yourself up to succeed. Under promise and over deliver. If you do a net sheet for your people and their proceeds are going to be $450,000 and they get $410,000, did you under promise and over deliver? No. That's why you need to put a little bit in there, a little bit of cushion on things, so when they get that final amount, oh my gosh, you know, Pam told me I was getting 450, I got 462, right? You under promised and over delivered. Set yourself up for success. Now, I can't tell you how easy this is, and I can't tell you how few people do it. So it's amazing. I mean, just tell people, give people a deadline that's further out than what you think you can perform on, and then beat it. And it takes the stress off of you. By the way, our clients generally aren't looking for it. Now, if you're working on an offer, you tell your client, well, I'll try to get this for you the next 3 days, knowing that this is an offer. No, you got to go now, okay? So you understand what's high priority and what you got to get on right now and tell them I'll get right on it, and what you have time to set yourself up for success. And if you will do that, things will be much, much better. So the last thing I'm just going to talk about is a little story. It has to do with my sons. I love stories with my kids because they teach us so much, it seems like. So Corey, a lot of you guys know Corey. Last year he moderated he's 39 years old and runs 4 companies now, but there was a time where he's a little, toddler and, just like every other kid. And before they, grow up and become adults, he was sitting at the table and he was eating his cereal and he made a mess with it. And Angie tells him, Corey, you need to clean your cereal up. Would you clean that cereal up and throw it away? So he just kind of goes on doing what he's doing, doesn't do anything. And then finally Angie says, Corey, I asked you to clean that cereal up. A couple minutes went by, didn't do anything. So Angie looked at him like all mothers would, and now you start using the first name, the middle name, and the last name. Corey Lathan Wright, I'm not going to ask you again. And so it didn't do anything. So then Angie looks at him and says, Corey, did you hear what I said? And he said, my ears heard you, but my legs didn't. And so here's what I want you guys, I want to use that silly story to relay this. Today, I gave you a lot of things out there, just threw a lot of things out there. But if your ears hear it and your legs don't do it, this day was good for nothing. And by the way, when you come to a training, it's not to change your life, it's to take something away. And just hopefully, one thing I said today, in 1 hour, imagine if every day you went to a training, you took one thing away. At the end of that year, you have 365 things that made little changes in your life. And guess what leads to big changes? A lot of little changes. So hopefully your legs will hear what your ears heard, and you'll pick up a couple things today and kind of go forth with that. So questions, guys? Got any questions? That's all I have as far as just, talking at you here. So
I heard one really good thing.
Did you? That's more than...
one that really stuck with me. When I hire an assistant, it doesn't have to be doing real estate stuff. It can do my personal stuff. For some reason, I forget about that.
Absolutely.
It's like,
we did our, used to be Chris Fresh. She did both. She did a lot for us, but personal and professional. But yeah, again, when you start looking at that, and it looks scary a little bit when you hire an assistant.
Yeah.
Now, if you're selling 4 homes a year and you want to hire an assistant, then that's risky. But if you're selling 40 homes a year and you're not hiring an assistant, as you know, we've had this talk. So she's in the process of. And guess what? It's later than you need one, and you know it, just like what I did. You'll make the same mistake. But sometimes, be a little bit ahead, have a little bit of confidence in yourself, and also motivates you if you have an assistant. By the way, here's the thing about assistants you don't think about. They're usually good for 2 deals a year. Okay? So guess what? We had 4 assistants. Hey, there's 8 deals right there. Because they're part of the team. You think they're going to be good at referring to you? Of course. So there's 2 deals a year right there. So what's the average commission last year at Regency? Almost $20,000. So if you have 2 deals and you hire an assistant, $40,000 of her salary is already paid for, right? So I mean, in these kind of math equations like that might help you to not be so fearful with that. So other questions or anything, guys?
No, it was great.
Okay, so next month we're going to talk about, and this is a really fun one for me. The next month, it's called 50 Secrets to Success, and right now I've been writing them down and kind of embellishing them a little bit, and I've got about 30. Okay, so I might not have 20 more, but we're going to have somewhere between 30 and 50 keys to success, and these are things that I've just seen throughout the years. And they're kind of fun, and we got a couple little fun wrinkles in it too, so I hope it will be fun. And then I think after that, we're going to do some role playing. Although, how many people are going to Bo's role playing? Man,
On the last 2.
everyone that comes loves it. Are you guys enjoying that?
Yeah.
I mean, it's great to, so Angie came home the other day. By the way, we're done if anyone wants to go, but Angie comes home the other day and tells me about Bo's thing. I'm playing pickleball at that time, so I can't make it, but I wish I could. So anyway, she comes and she tells me, she said, how would you answer this question? And I told her how I'd answer it, and he was saying, well, Bo said you should answer it this way. And I'm like, okay, well, Bo's been in the business like 10 years. I've been in the business like 40 years. Who are you going to listen to? And then I kind of thought it for a minute, and I go, Bo's probably right. Now that I think about that and dissect what he just said, what I said, I think it was one simple thing. She asked me, when you go and knock on a door, how we used to do, tell me how you would do it. And I said, I'd knock on the door, and I would just say, hi, Dave, this is Ed, just dropping by to give you some Martinellis and wish you a Merry Christmas.
Just.
What did he do wrong?
Just.
And she said that, I go, no, that's a
No
casual, I'm
just,
trying to
no
disarm,
maybe.
that's the way we do it. I kind of thought about it for a while, I go, he's right. So here's the thing, we can, iron sharpens iron.
Don't apologize for doing your job.
Oh.
I'm not
Can't
just
say
stopping
just.
by.
Can't
I'm
say
stopping by with yada yada yada,
There
or
you
a
go.
question, or did you know, or whatever. Yeah, it's
Yeah, and hey, listen, Bo has a different way. I can tell you, if I was looking for a real estate agent and I went and opened house with Bo, his direct, really no-nonsense approach would appeal to me. It may not appeal to everyone. I think it's going to appeal to a lot. Let me ask you this. I'm going to ask you 2 questions. Do people want a pushy real estate agent?
No.
Okay, now another question. It's similar, just a little bit different word. Do people want an aggressive real estate agent?
Yes.
They want an aggressive agent.
Yeah.
And, I tell the story that, when you want something, you want somebody who's going to fight for you. You don't want somebody to say, well, if you want to look at homes sometime, just call me. That's not what you want. It's kind of like, listen, you need to get out looking at homes, and I'm your guy. When I ask somebody if they have an agent, I don't stop when they say yes. I go, you have an agent, Ruth? That's great. Let me ask you this. Is your agent the best agent on the planet? And let's say you say no. I'm going to say, let me try to prove why I am, the best agent on the planet. Let's say you say yes, you think he is. Well, why don't you give me a chance to prove that maybe he isn't the best agent on the planet? Give me a chance too. I mean, why? I'm going to do that. Now, if they come in and said they're working with somebody I know and they're working with Dave, and I say, you're going to love Dave, he's great. If I know some agent, but if it's just a name they're working with, I don't know who that is, they don't own that client. They don't own that, unless they're under contract, and they're probably not, they don't own that client. I have the right to tell, and that conviction, somebody said at the panel the other day, one of the notes I wrote down, if you can't tell your client why you're the best agent for them, then they can't answer that question either. And wow, that's powerful, isn't it? You have to tell them that. You have to tell them that. So, anyway, what's one question you want to ask every client?
What are you looking for in a realtor?
What are you looking for in an agent? Because if you don't ask them, how are you going to know? I mean, what's important to you, and you might offer a lot, but there might be some little thing that they want. So we're going to talk about that more next time, so I probably wore you guys out. Thanks a lot.
Thanks,
So,
Ed.
Thanks, Ed.